Alright folks, let's just take a few minutes here to talk about a book that I picked up a few months ago. I actually signed up for this on pre-order with Amazon before it came out. So I've had it for a little while, and it is called Bushcraft 101, and it's by Dave Canterbury. So before everybody gets worked up and starts talking about some of the drama around Dave, I do want to mention that I'm a fan. I like the guy. Out of all the folks on Dual Survival, I still watch what he does. I liked him the most. And I was a fan of his before then, based off of the YouTube content that he was putting out. Still watch all of his videos, and I think he's a pretty good guy. Just touching a little bit on some of the drama around him, I really don't know the whole story. I do believe that as part of his deal with Discovery Channel, they probably encouraged him or even embellished some of his background. And I know there's some drama around how he was more of a more tactical military person, and now he's more of a woodcraft, bushcraft, early settler or pioneer. And I really don't give a shit about any of that. What matters to me is he seems to be a knowledgeable person who, without greed or anything like that, shares his knowledge readily with people who are inquisitive about it. And so, like I said, I'm a fan. I don't really have anything nasty or bad to say. That being said, when you take a look at this book and you read some of it and you watch a lot of Dave's videos, he spoke about this a little bit. And he actually said that he wanted to call it woodcraft or something along those lines. And the publishing company was really like, hey, if you call it bushcraft, it'll sell. That's a hot term. Everybody's jumping on that bandwagon. So he did. And what I like about this book, anyhow, when you read it, to me, I've watched lots of his videos over the years, and I heard his voice when I read it. You know what I mean? Like it was when I was reading it, and I heard it in his voice, which I found to be interesting. But anyhow, he refers to a lot of historical figures or folks that were early people who documented things about how to live in nature and how to survive in the wilderness and how to do expeditions and actually vacationing and stuff like that in nature. And I thought that was pretty interesting. He takes a little bit of a historical perspective to it. If you have been a follower of his YouTube channel over the last couple years, I don't think that there's any content in this book that you wouldn't have already been exposed to. But what's nice about it is that for about $20 or less, you can have a piece of reference material that goes over various things like how to maintain a knife or an axe or build a shelter or first aid or trapping and things of that nature. And we'll go ahead and we'll go through that. To me, it's written at a maybe a high school level for comprehension. It's not an overly technical diagram or overly technical document, and that's nice. When you take a look at mine, it's got a little bit of water damage here, and that's really just because I spilled a water bottle on it while I was traveling. Had nothing to do with navigating the Grand Canyon or anything like that, or the Mississippi River. But yeah, I bookmarked a couple pages. I thought we'd just take a quick look through the book. And I really didn't put a whole lot of effort into Wells' bookmarking. But one thing I did find interesting is he goes a little bit over knife safety, and he talks about the triangle of death, and that's when you're cutting things between your thighs, really, and you have a femoral artery, and you can bleed out. He talks about that. And he goes over a couple of different things about knife safety and a grip, which I found very refreshing. One of the things I noticed is a lot of folks on YouTube, who may come across as accomplished knife reviewers. People sending them knives, and they work with big knife distributors or resellers, and they really actually have terrible technique, and they have terrible knife handling skills. I'm not an expert by any means, but I can recognize sometimes when people are doing things dangerous or mishandling a knife. And so I thought it was really refreshing, because I think that a lot of people take for granted the proper techniques and mechanisms that you use when handling a knife. Let's see what else I got marked in here. And that is a little bit about axes. and I like to play around with axes. I'm not an expert again, but anyhow, I thought it was nice. He does a good job of explaining the importance of an axe maintenance, and the different pieces or parts of an axe, which I thought was great. And then again, this is stuff that most people probably have been exposed to, but I think it's important to have a reference material because he goes over a lot of different knots. And a lot of times you may be out camping or doing whatever it is that you're doing, and you may say, hey, oh, how do you do a jam knot again, or how do you do this? And this book would be a good help for that. I do not think that you could pack this up along with all the contents listed out in somebody's bug out bag video and expect to do well in a camping or survival situation. But again, I think this book would be great if you were out and you needed some reference material for something that you may have been exposed to, and you just want to make sure that you have a way to kind of like double check or check your thoughts. And for that, I think is great. Again, also a lot of the content in this book, like it says in the front, is 101. It's kind of entry level knowledge. And he goes over some stuff around shelter building. He has a lean-to here and an A-frame, and he goes into some debris huts and stuff like that. I don't recall, I didn't see a whole lot of stuff about tarp shelters, which I thought would have been pretty handy. And then also bookmarked about firecraft. And he goes over birds' nests, and I think he goes over on the next page just some other ways that you can build a tinder bundle and go ahead and create a fire. When I watched a video from Dave, he was talking about this book, and he talked about how he had a lot more illustrations, and then the manufacturer or the publisher wanted him to cut a lot of the illustrations out because it was making the book a lot longer and just more technical. I would have liked to have seen a lot more of these illustrations actually as photos or as color diagrams. And like I said, this book was less than $20, and I think that when you start to put a lot of photo illustrations and stuff like that in there, maybe it jacks the price up to the point where it's not affordable to a lot of people. So again, I don't really have a big problem with it. I think it's great. Then he does a section on orienteering and using a compass and topographic maps and stuff like that, which is great. Let's see what else we got in here. And then I put in here a little bit about trapping and processing game. And what caught my mind about this is I think he does a good job explaining that a lot of people think that if you have a bug out bag and you put some twine in there and some steel wire and you're just going to go out in the woods and you're going to catch game. It's actually probably a lot more difficult than that. And he goes over I guess what he's calling modern traps, and this would be things like a conibear and stuff like that. He goes over some snares and stuff like that, but he also goes over some of the more primitive traps somewhere in here, which is great, and I think he does a good job of it. But realistically, I think that a lot of people think that they're just going to be trapped out in the woods, or they're going to bug out to the woods when the dollar fails, and they're going to catch all kinds of things. I just don't believe that to be the case. And then I marked this because I just think it's hilarious. Recipe for raccoon stew. If I'm ever in a situation where I'm out in, I'm sorry, I'm out of the screen, where I'm in a bad spot and I happen to luckily catch a raccoon, I'm not going to follow any recipes to cook it. There's like snapping turtle in a pot. But anyhow, I think this is a great piece of reference material. I definitely think it's something that folks should pick up and read in their spare time, and then maybe even go through it to find some ideas of some things that you can do when you're out on your next hike or camping trip or anything like that. That's it, folks. Thanks.